What's that sound? It's for amusement only, the EM and Bingo Pinball Podcast. Welcome back to For Amusement Only. This is Nick Baldridge. Gearing up for the York show over here. Still so excited I can hardly stand it. Got a little bit over a week to go. There's supposed to be a hurricane or tropical storm. Seems like they can't decide which yet. It's going to make landfall around Virginia. So looking forward to that. That should be happening this weekend. And that's not going to dampen my spirits, though, because the York show is just around the corner. The York show is in York, Pennsylvania, October 9th and 10th. I will be there along with bingo collectors from all over the eastern United States. And we are piling together and bringing a record number of bingos to have the first ever bingo row at a show. Now at this bingo row, this first ever bingo row, I'm going to be running a little contest. Jeffrey Lawton, Bally Bingo Pinball Machines and Bingo Pinball War author, has autographed a case of books, and I will be giving those away to anyone who can make a 4 or 5 in a line on one of these great machines that we bring. So, bring your skills, your enthusiasm for the game, and your willingness to learn, and you could be one of the lucky winners. For tonight's topic, I wanted to talk about one of the solid-state bingo games. This is a Sirmo bingo, and for eagle-eared listeners who've been listening for a long time, I played my first ever solid-state bingo up at Vic Camps a month or so ago now, and it was quite the experience. There's an awful lot that computer does, not just for the player, but also kind of against the player. You can lose a amazing number of credits very, very quickly. You can also win an amazing number of credits really, really quickly. But tonight what I wanted to talk about was a bit of the board set in one of these games. These computer-controlled bingos were the offshoots of Bally's first solid-state bingo, which was Bally's Continental. Continental was produced in 1980, pretty much right as the bingos were shutting down. And what they did is ship them all overseas to Belgium. Now, the folks in Belgium, what they did is they took them, and this was an amusement company that purchased the entire run of these machines. They took them and they figured out how they worked. I'm not sure if they reverse engineered the board set or what exactly they did, but they were able to take these and produce all new bingos. And they have been for years and years, way, way into the 2000s. I'm not sure if the Belgian companies are still producing bingos, but I know that there are parts manufacturers that you can still get in touch with in Belgium and get big bulk orders shipped over here to the United States. Now, I was browsing around on Danny Leach's site, which is on danny.cdyn.com, and found this little oddity, which is the internals of a Magic Screen game. So I clicked into it, and it's not the Bally Magic Screen that we're used to when we think of the bingos. It was the Sirmo game. Now, Sirmo, I'm not sure exactly. I really need to research the solid-state bingos more because I don't know exactly what happened. There was a Sirmo, there was a Weemy, there were several companies in Belgium. I don't know if it was, one went out of business and another picked up where they left off, or what exactly happened. At any rate, this is a Sirmo, and the magic screen in reference is an LCD monitor. Now, it displays all these different games that you can play. There's one called Super Ball, Magic Wheel, Penalty, 3 Numbers Game, and then one that's simply called Bingo Game. Now, I'm not sure what any of these are. There's only one picture with the screen active. But I just want to point out that this game has an LCD monitor, and it was manufactured back in 2004. Now, if you think about that, that's 11 years ago, and quite some time before the first LCD was used in a flipper game with Wizard of Oz. And they may have been doing this for at least a year prior. I believe there's someone in the Pinside thread for the show that talks about a game from 2003. But I wanted to talk about the board set for this because it's very interesting. Looking at the pictures, and it's fascinating. It is what appears to be a 3-board system and a power supply. Now, for those of you who don't know, I am fascinated by computers. It is something that I really enjoy, despite my love of the electromechanical. I do love computers as well, and most of the things that I find fascinating are how they've evolved over time. So similarly to my love of the electromechanical, I do love early solid state, and even later solid state. I just love seeing the evolution of the technology. And pinball is such a fascinating use of the technology. The marriage of low voltage and high voltage in a single system is pretty impressive. Some board sets are better designed, in my opinion, as a non-engineer, than others, but they all share this fascinating trait of a computer being able to determine when a transistor should be fired, that transistor turning on higher voltage to a coil or something, and away it goes. Pretty neat. So looking at the board set, we've got a large MPU/driver board, and this is connected to the various systems with ribbon cables. Now, this driver board also does the voltage regulation. So it functions as kind of a power supply board with a driver board, kind of like an aux power driver in a late solid state Williams game. The ribbon cables that they used are similar to IDE connectors. For those familiar with them, it's a multi-pin cable in a flat package. But they used punch downs on some of the larger, higher voltage wires. Interesting choice, but their connectors, by and large, are very solid. And having looked under a playfield, or actually having taken apart a playfield for a solid state bingo, I can tell you the way that those playfields work. All 25 holes in the playfield are connected via these IDE cables in parallel, and it uses micro switches. Now this is different than the Bally bingos. They didn't use micro switches, they used a special type of switch activator, but the function's the same. Now, what the large IDE cable that I mentioned is doing is probably driving the shutter motor, which requires much less voltage than in a Bally Bingo, but it still requires a higher voltage than, say, 5 volts. So, aside from this large driver board / MPU / voltage regulator, over to the right you have what looks like an I/O board, and it's producing the video and audio for the game. That's right, I said audio. There is a speaker mounted in the game. Now the video runs to the power supply, and this power supply drives the LCD monitor in the game. Now that LCD is not the only display in the game, and in fact there's a whole back glass with the bingo cards, which are static and do not move. The LCD simply provides instructions and other helpful advice as you play, and animation and so forth. But on each bingo card, there are 3 different LED displays on this game, and there's a large LED display over to the left, which is maybe a fifth of the size of the LCD monitor. It's very cool. So, this game looks incredibly fun, and I will say that I would not mind spending a lot more time on a solid-state bingo. I think they are very fun from the brief time that I spent on one at Vic Camps, and you can hear my thoughts on that on a previous episode, but I will say that they are very clearly manufactured to take a lot of money very quickly, and they do. The way that you can change the value of your coin and change the multiplier means that you're putting in a ton of money. Your potential reward is certainly greater, but at what cost? So, other than that, I will say that the gameplay is very cool, because with the solid state board set, where you don't have to worry about finding a place to put additional units in the game, you can do things like have every adjacent hole score, or like on Vic Camp's game, having a special trail down the middle score in a particular way. I just think that's really cool and very unique for most bingos, at least that I know of. So, again, would not mind spending more time with one in the future. And this is a point that I want to bring home here. Again, this game, years before the first Flipper LCD, had an LCD in the back box. And bingos, even though they were no longer produced in the United States, continued to push the envelope for innovation for years after Bally stopped producing the bingos. I find this incredibly fascinating, and if anyone who's listening has a lot of experience with solid-state bingos, I would love to talk to you. I hope to talk to Vic again soon about the solid-state bingos, because he has had some experience with them, and he owns one, so I mean, that's that's quite a bit of experience. So, other than that, I think that's all for tonight. So, thank you very much for joining me. My name again is Nick Baldridge. You can reach me at foramusementonlypodcast@gmail.com, or you can call me on the Bingos line. That's 724-BINGOS1, 724-246-4671. You can listen to us on iTunes, Stitcher, Pocket Cast, via RSS, on Facebook, on Twitter, at Bingo Podcast. You can follow me on Instagram at nbaldridge, or you can listen to us on our website, which is foramusementonly.libsyn.com. Thank you very much for listening, and I'll talk to you next time.